My name is Liz, and my story begins in the Baptist Bible Belt of West Texas. I married a Catholic man, and together we raised 3 children internationally. Through my travels and experiences, my Jewish faith became secondary to everyday life. Now, after some incredibly powerful events that transpired recently, I'm at a place and time in my life to delve into my Jewish faith. I invite you to join me on this journey where I and an amazing array of weekly guests will enlighten you about the faith, people, and innovations that have shaped Israel and the Jewish people's rich history. Welcome to a journey to milk and honey.
Hi there, my name is Liz, and welcome to my very first podcast, A Journey to Milk and Honey. For the next few minutes, I'd like to share with y'all the nutshell version of my Jewish story and why I'm here talking with you today. So long ago, I and my 3 siblings were raised by 2 Jewish parents in the Baptist Bible Belt of West Texas. Like many kids, we were forced to attend weekly Sunday school for a few hours at a conservative synagogue about 20 miles away called Temple Bethel. My twin and I were 2 of maybe 3 or 4 Jewish kids in our Sunday school class. We had what I call a roving rabbi whose territory covered the entire oil patch known as the Permian Basin of West Texas, and we would occasionally see him. Other than weekly Sunday school, we really didn't attend much of anything else, except a holiday festivity on occasion. None of us were bar bat mitzvahed, and our Jewish education concluded once we became young teens, and thus much too resistant to doing anything Jewish any longer. We had no at-home Jewish learning, and we even grew up with a Hanukkah bush and an Easter bunny. Also, unfortunately, in the 60s and 70s, anti-Semitism was quite prevalent, so I would tell other kids that I was Methodist should the occasion arrive. This made the best sense as most folks were Baptist and would know that I didn't attend the monster-sized local United Baptist Church. And then what was ironic is that after high school, I actually spent 4 years at a Methodist university in Abilene, Texas. From there, I married a Catholic man, and together we raised 3 children internationally between Singapore and Canada, and a few stops along the way. Unfortunately, my kids received no formal Jewish education except that we did celebrate the major Jewish holidays at home. Then, after 10 years, we repatriated back to America, landing smack dab here in New Hampshire, where I discovered that there are indeed a lot of Jewish people living on America's East Coast. But still, I had little interest in my Jewish faith. That is until about 3 years ago, when the first of my 3-spark awakening occurred. For Hanukkah and Christmas that year, my husband and I gifted each other DNA tests. The results for both of us were actually kind of surprising, as neither of us had seen these tests before. My husband's results looked a lot like a lot of folks' results as I now understand it. He had about 15 different countries and regions of lineage and origin listed on his. A lot of French, German, British, Irish, Scandinavian, and even some Italian, but also some Native American and 0.1% unassigned, whatever that is. So yes, my husband, as I affectionately call him, is a mutt. But me? Well, I am more of a purebred, if I do say so myself. And initially, though I was surprised about my test results, I had to say that I was a little bit disappointed. My test results wasted an entire piece of paper with just 2 line items that told me that I am 99.6% Ashkenazi Jewish and 0.4% Eastern European. And yes, I was surprised, but again, I moved on quickly. That is until the second of my 3-spark awakening. And that was the October 7th massacre of 1,200 innocent Jews in Israel and the kidnapping of more than 250 hostages. For some reason, these acts of unadulterated evil absolutely paralyzed me. It literally consumed my every waking thought, and I'm not even exaggerating. I followed the aftermath of this massacre day and night, thinking of nothing else. And what's weird is that given my life of really being a secular Jew, having paid little to no attention to my faith, and even less attention to the nation or people of Israel, I felt something deep within me. It was a feeling of utter sadness and pain. And honestly, one of my first thoughts was, why? Why always the Jews, and why always Israel? What I did know, of course, is that 6 million Jews had been literally exterminated in the Holocaust. But of course, that was then. I just couldn't understand why these people are, and always have been, the most hated, most persecuted group of people and nations since creation. Look it up yourselves. Why is that? How can that be? And because I know so little about my faith and the history of the Jewish people, I don't know the answer to that, and I may never know. And then came the third of my 3-spark awakening just 5 weeks later on November 14th. I actually even surprised myself as I flew to Washington, D.C. with a friend to attend the largest pro-Israel rally in history, along with 300,000 other people from all over the country. I've got to say, it was a mind-blowing experience to stand in solidarity with some 300,000 people, smack dab in the front of the U.S. Capitol. And this event was so peaceful, yet so intensely passionate, that it was kind of surreal. It really was. I arrived so early that I literally had a front row standing seat and had no idea that behind me there stood some 300,000 more people. People, a large percentage of, by the way, who were young. I'd say 35 years of age or younger. I was surrounded on all sides by them, and these young people were so courteous, respectful, and lawful, and were also deeply passionate and clearly there for the same reason I was. And when I left a bit early to avoid the rush, I had to literally walk back through this mass of humanity. And as I made my way back, I saw faces, young and old, with smiles and with tears. Clearly, many very emotional, but many very motivated and inspired by the amazing array of people that had spoken at that rally. Hundreds of thousands of people standing for hours on end as one, in a non-violent, respectful manner. No trash, no hate, and no violence to be seen. Absolutely surreal. So now you know about the 3 sparks that ignited something within me. A very passionate awakening of sorts. Yes, I guess you could say that I became woke. But since that dreadful, horrific day almost 1 year ago, so much has happened in the Middle East, here in America, and also for me personally. So as for me in a nutshell, here is what I have been doing over the last 9 months. I have been attending Shabbat services at our local Chabad religiously. And yes, it's Orthodox. And yes, I'm as shocked as anybody that I sit there each and every Saturday mornings for hours on end, listening, learning, and yes, praying. And yes, I'm admittedly like a deer in the headlights, but learning more each and every week. And I know that's where I'm supposed to be every Saturday morning for our Sabbath. I've also taken baby steps to begin observing Shabbat, which is way bigger and way more important than I could have ever imagined. I also reached out to an organization called Partners in Torah about 6 months ago and was matched up with, yes, you guessed it, a Torah partner. My partner's name is Akiva, and he is a Jewish American living in Israel, just 6 miles from the border of Gaza. And we have been studying together every week since. And I'll be sharing our learning with y'all occasionally, so stay tuned. I also signed up for a monthly Zoom series with Gabert called One Wow Moment. This series was being offered simultaneously across the country, and I believe even the world, by each and every Chabad. Here we learned about the strength and importance of 7 amazing women in the Hebrew Bible, and how we as women today can learn and benefit from their life stories. And lastly, and by far the most special for me, is a good friend of mine, Sonia, who y'all will get to meet shortly, has taken pity on me, and the fact that I have never read or learned much of anything about the Torah or the Hebrew Bible. And Sonia has recently taken me under her wing. So for the last 3 months or so, once a week, chapter by chapter, beginning with Genesis, Sonia reads each passage in the most beautiful Hebrew with so much love and respect that it warms my heart. I follow along as best I can, as I do know most of the Hebrew letters. And then we discuss, in English of course, the meaning of the text and the relevance to us today. This learning with Sonia has been mind-blowing in so many ways, and I cannot wait to begin sharing this with y'all. And now you're all caught up. As I've already mentioned, I know very little about my Jewish faith or about the state of Israel. And you'll hear me say frequently as we move ahead together that I don't know much, but what I do know is that I am Jewish and that Judaism was the first monotheistic faith. The Hebrew people were the founders of the belief in only one God, and that was over 3,000 years ago. I also know that without Judaism, there would be no Christianity and no Islam, both of which are monotheistic faiths. And you know what's ironic is that we all look to Abraham, a Hebrew, or Jew, by the way, as our first prophet. So to repeat, I don't know much. But I find it miraculous the Jewish people whose numbers have always been relatively small, who have been targeted incessantly over the millennia to be annihilated, really unlike any other group of people in the history of our planet, still stand today. And that in itself feels miraculous. And for me, I also know that the sheer evil of the events of October 7th, some say almost comparable to the evils of the Holocaust, has changed me, has created within me a passionate awakening, a spark. Many people talk about life events that have stirred them to the brink of change, revelation, or awakening. Oftentimes it's a change for the good and sometimes not so good. But whether it's because of the sparks that I've shared with you here today, or maybe it's just God talking to me, I believe that my Judaism is a gift. I know in my heart that it's finally time for me to begin, and as they say, better late than never, to learn about my Jewish faith and about the incredible history of the Jewish people and the nation of Israel. To repeat, again, I don't know much, but I do know that the strength and the resilience of the Jewish people is why I am here today, and for that I am grateful. I feel that I owe this not only to myself, but to my Jewish ancestors before me, who lived, fought, and died over the millennia and continue to do so to this day, for me and future generations to come, because they are why I'm here. And that's a wrap. I am just so excited about my learning journey ahead, and even more thrilled to have y'all beside me every step of the way.
Thank you all for joining me today on A Journey to Milk and Honey. Before you go, don't forget that you can stay connected with us on social media, as we're on all major platforms at JMH Podcast, and we would love to hear from you. You can also find us on YouTube at JMH Podcast or A Journey to Milk and Honey. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications, as it really helps out our channel. And wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure to follow us there to stay updated on new episodes and to keep your journey going. If you're looking for more, you can visit us online at ajourneytomilkandhoney.com or jmhpodcast.com. Oh, and by the way, if you enjoyed this podcast, please take a moment to leave a review or comment, as your feedback helps the podcast to grow and improve, and we truly value your support. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and shalom.